Welcome to Bold Talk series, where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludwig, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Raghu Bala, founder and CEO of Synergetics.ai. Raghu, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
Thank you, Epi. It's nice to be here, and thanks for having me.
Great to have you, Raghu, and looking forward to this great conversation. You're doing something incredibly amazing with Synergetics.ai. But before, let's just start. You had 4 successful startup exits, included 3 to public companies. What was the hardest pivot or decision you had to make in one of those journeys that still shapes you, how you lead Synergetics today?
Yeah, I think the second startup we had not pivots, but a lot of points during the company's growth that we had to make some critical choices. I wouldn't say all the choices we made were good, but I'll give you the story. So we started this company in Westport, Connecticut. It was a middleware company in the first period, 1990. 5 to 2000 era. So we built a middleware platform based on Java. And after about 8-9 months of being in business, we got a buyout offer. And big company visited us and made an offer. And I was a co-founder, as much younger, obviously. And my other partner decided, he said, we should wait to grow the business further and not sell. And whereas I felt that the opportunity was good and that we should sell. And that is a major sort of decision or inflection point in the company, because we didn't sell, went on for 3 more years and pretty much sold it at the same price that the other guy offered much earlier in our trajectory. So that is a kind of a learning curve for me at that point as a young entrepreneur, because since then, actually, my first 2 startups, first one was prior to that, I was a CTO and I had a small amount of a stake in the company. So I was not in a kind of a driver's seat to say it bluntly. In the second one, I had more of a say as a co-founder, but the problem was I got overridden. And since then, actually, I've always been a sole founder, because I think, and this really depends on each person. It's a personal choice, but how you go about decision making. And so I feel that in my case, I rather take those big decisions myself, and whatever the repercussions might be, I just have to look in the mirror. It's easier to sort of acquiesce or to understand, why we went right or wrong. But when you have founding teams, this is one of the challenges that comes up, because you are sometimes not heard, and then if things don't have a different outcome, then you think one way or the other. So how does that impact Synergetics? In Synergetics, actually, when we first started, we were thinking of doing something in the metaverse space, and that's when Meta had changed its name from Facebook to Meta and so on. And we started to build out some things in a kind of a prototype mode, using some gaming engines and things like that, avatars and all that. And I attended an accelerator in the Bay Area relating to metaverse. And after about 6 weeks of that, towards the end, one of the mentors at that event, and even though I'd had 4 startups under the belt, I always feel one needs to be coachable and learn new things. So the mentor said, given your background in AI, because I've been sort of facilitating AI courses on the 2U platform for MIT Sloan, AI, blockchain, and DeFi. He said, so this mentor said, based on your background, I think all the money is in AI, and it's better that you pivot. And whatever technologies that you have, you can sort of repurpose them and use them in the AI space. So I had to take a hard look and make a kind of a right turn, a fork in the road, say, okay, you know what, we're going to change direction. So we did that. And we had to repurpose a lot of the technologies, and some of the avatars and voice agents and other things that you see in the platform today actually had their beginnings in metaverse. And so a lot of people don't know that, but for the first 8-9 months of the company, that's what we were doing. So that previous examples of making big decisions, I could make it myself this time and say, yeah, you know what, we're going to make a turn here, and that's it. That's it. Not looking back.
Yeah. But does it get more complicated, like when you have more than 2 founders or 2 partners? Like when you got 3, things become very complex, right? 2, you can still kind of adjust.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the characters, and There's a phrase called force of personality. So depends on the force of personality that dictates what happens with the company. The person may not be the strongest knowledge wise, might not be, might have other traits, but in decision making, the force of personality that rules. And so if sometimes, you have relationships, a lot of companies have come up with multiple founders and been successful. So I can't say it doesn't work. It works if everyone can agree to disagree at certain points and go forward the decision. And then there are, some people don't know this, but I did a search on sole founders and unicorns, and surprising number of unicorns are sole founder unicorns. So those who say that you need a founding team, actually not so true. It really depends on the people involved. Some people have the penchant for taking on a lot of responsibility, and I put myself in that category. And then some people feel that I need a whole team to complete me because I only have a certain portion of the skill set. So it all comes with experience. And, I only became a sole founder after 2 previous startups, not immediately. So for those entering in for the first time, maybe having a founding team is good. But if you have done it a few times, then you can probably do it on your own.
Yeah, well said. Now, you build Synergetics around bold and futuristic idea, enabling AI agents to transact and communicate securely across ecosystems. What was that first aha moment that made you believe this vision was not just possible but necessary?
Yeah. So, actually, a funny story. I just woke up on Sunday morning and I don't know what I had dreamt about or whatnot. And I said, I know what's going to happen next. That simple. And for the next 4 hours, I just literally just typed out about 40 slides of ideas. And that became our patent, which was issued earlier this year, February 2025. This was, I think, around March or April 2023. So I just said, okay, this is how it's going to work. And it started to kind of come naturally. I said, okay, agents will ultimately have to talk to other agents. They'll have to talk to websites. So for talking to websites, we created something called Agent Connect. For talking to other agents, we created AgentTalk. And I said they need to transact. We need a wallet. That's what Synergy Wallet is. And they need to be registered and they need to have an identity. That's what our registry is, which ultimately now MIT has started to sort of build on top of that something called Nanda, which is the Internet of AI Agents registry. And so all of these things that just literally happened in 4 or 5 hours is now
Amazing.
in one shape or form shaping the entire industry. It's just crazy, but that's the truth.
Incredible. When you're seeing the right dream, right?
I know. I mean, I think inspiration is funny. When you get it, you immediately want to put it to paper and go. And obviously, one of the problems or challenges of any founder is you need to convince your team. And some of the team members might think this guy is crazy, just woke up one day and came up with this. But you have to convince your team how it's going to happen. And so, what I typically do is I tell them, you just trust me, this is what's going to happen. As things unfold, I'll tell them, see, I told you this 2 years ago. This happened today. Do you see what's happening? So building block A is built, building block B is built like this, one by one. So I'll tell you, like last October, I went to MIT to give a talk at an event, and I put down the whole roadmap of everything in this, and they said, okay, this is a nice roadmap. They didn't take me at with a grain of salt. Let's say they said, okay, you know what, this guy come up with a bunch of interesting things, but let's see whether it unfolds. And so some of the things they bought into immediately, like the identity of agents and the registry, which is like a yellow pages of agents, that they bought it. But the other stuff like a wallet and being able to pay with stable coins or cryptocurrency and all that, they were like, nah, all that's not going to happen. And I said, no, it's going to happen. And what happens, lo and behold, I mean, we got a patent in February, and then by April, there was another meeting at MIT, and by then Google had introduced agent-to-agent communication. So they then believed that, yeah, okay, now agents will talk to one another. You need a protocol. And I said, yeah, I told you we need a protocol. And then by the June meeting, they understood that wallets are needed because the Genius Act had passed around that time, that the government had passed, that made it easier for crypto and other sort of legislation which sort of crypto was this sideline thing. Now it became mainstream. And so this whole last week, actually, Google introduced A2P, agent to payment protocol. And now people start to say, oh, you need payment, you need wallet, you need agents will be doing this on their own. So all of these things that I had been talking for 2 years started to slowly come together. And a lot of very powerful people had an epiphany. And even this morning, I was talking to some partners who are just only starting to understand that these things will take place in this order. And when they see what we've built, they said, wow, this is like almost laid out perfectly, and this is how the world is unfolding. So this kind of been interesting. It sort of like validates what we have been doing, and validation is important for any sort of technology company, because you see, you cannot build technology at the time when it's needed. You have to build technology well ahead of the time when it's going to be used. So you are taking a big guess or a gamble. And so it's like in soccer, for example, if I'm going to kick the ball, you have to run to the place where the ball is going to be, as opposed to standing where you are. If I pass the ball far away, you run to the ball and then you have an opening to score or something. So that's how technology works. You kind of build it in anticipation of something happening in the future. So when that gets validated and the future sort of reaffirms what you have built, then it becomes like you're proven right. So it's kind of interesting how that works.
Yeah. Yeah. Now with AgentTalk, your patented agent-to-agent protocol feels like a transmission control protocol, internet protocol for AI. What was the biggest technical or philosophical challenge you faced while trying to get machines to speak to one another with trust and context?
Yeah. So even the debate is still going on. So the main thing is a lot of companies are, or at least some of the, like, even the A2A protocol from Google, the communication itself is not well defined. And when we did Agent Talk, what we said is let's define that a little bit better, because when agents speak to humans, it can be in natural language. It has to be, because humans don't talk in bits and bytes. We talk English or French or German or whatever language. So we talk in natural languages. But when agents communicate with other agents, it has to be structured. So structured protocols are there in every domain. So for example, if I took foreign exchange, there's something called OFX. If I take supply chain, there's something called EDI. If I take healthcare, there's something called HL7. So each uh, industry sort of comes up with its own protocol and says that here's how we communicate in our field, and everyone follow the standard. That's how it works. And so we said there's going to be the way in which agents will communicate one another. They'll have to embrace existing standards, because the people with existing investments in these protocols are not going to just ditch those and go towards something else. So we have to sort of like bring the people from the past into the future and bridge that gap. So that is the challenge. And we have been slowly sort of evangelizing and advocating for this in the marketplace. And I think it's resonating, because there's too much investment already being made in different industries like insurance or banking or, healthcare or supply chain or this and that. That you need to, they have these protocols and we need to speak in the same language. Only then would those industries be able to embrace AI agents quickly. Otherwise, there's a whole conversion cycle and it'll never happen for
Yeah.
decades. So,
Yeah.
so this is the challenge that we have had to convince the entire industry that that's the way to go.
Now, at Synergetics, you're leading both high level strategic innovation and hands on development. How do you balance long term vision with a daily grind of execution in such a fast moving space?
Yeah, so we have to make some choices. So, for example, there's so much to build, and we have to select what we want to build and where we want to partner. Because um, in technology, they say there's a phrase called technical debt. So if you build a lot of stuff, you also have to maintain a lot of stuff. And as technology moves so quickly, like what you said, that means your maintenance of all the stuff becomes a full-time job. So you're spending a lot of time churning, maintaining a lot of things that you built. So as a
Yeah.
startup, you have to make we already have a big stack. A lot of companies have even smaller stack. So we have to choose. So for instance, let me give you an area that we are not building, that we are partnering. So agents, for example, have memory, right? The agents have to remember what they said and so on. So there are companies that we are talking to who handle just the memory part of agents. So, and in memory itself, one of the companies has got 3 types of memory. One is called semantic memory, which is just factual memory. Like, what's the capital of France? It's Paris. What's the what does the flag of the United States looks like? It's like, stars and stripes with 50 stars for 50 states, and then red and white, sort of like in the flag itself. So something like that. But then if you the other type of memory is episodic memory. So for example, if I asked you, what did you do this morning since you woke up? You'll say, I woke up, brushed my teeth, had a cup of coffee, read something online, or if you're still reading newspapers, did that. And then I maybe exercised for a while. And then I went to, take a shower, then went to work, did this, did that, whatever. So that's the episodic, like it goes step by step. And then the another type of memory is muscle memory or procedural memory. So if I told you to ride a bike, even if you have not ridden a bike for years, because you've ridden it before, immediately your body gets into action and says, okay, I need to balance my weight in such and such a way in order for me to ride a bike. So that's muscle memory. Or even certain procedural things you have to do in office work is follows the same sort of step by step approach. So this memory stuff itself is very engaging and interesting. But we said we are not going to build this because that's another thing for us to maintain. So we partnered with a company which does that. In fact, we found 2 partners who do different types of memory so that we can plug it into our AI agents and we can go to market faster instead of having to build everything. So like this, we have partnered with a set of companies, some with voice technology, some with avatar technology, and so on. So all of the core plumbing we have done, but all of these, what we call appendages to the core purpose of our platform, we have partnered and integrated. So that's from the tactical side of things that you mentioned, like while the strategy is to deliver something that is help a company sort of move towards a hybrid workforce of humans and agents working together, the tactical side of things is to figure out which aspects of this vision do we have to build, which aspects do we have to partner or buy. So you have to make those trade-offs.
Yeah. Now we fast forward 5 years from now. What do you believe the world will look like if your vision for the agent economy plays out?
I think all the devices we take for granted today are going to become agents. We, in fact, are talking to a major OEM that makes televisions, makes refrigerators, washing machines, all kinds of appliances. They are into the one of those big conglomerates out of East Asia. And we're talking to them about turning all of the things that they make into agents. So no longer are these smart devices, but they are in fact agents. So I can foresee a day where you see an ad on TV and you can you can talk to your TV and say, let's just make it simple. It's a commercial from Pizza Hut. You can almost talk to your TV and say, can you order me a pizza? And it will be able to do that for you because it has a wallet and you can talk to it. And while you're seeing the commercial, you feel hungry, you want to order it, you can get it. Or if you see a commercial for a car and you are in the market shopping for a car, you can say, can you just send me a link to the brochure to my phone, and it'll do that for you. So things like that, things around us will become very, very intelligent to be able to do things. Like a few years ago, we didn't bring this to market, but interesting technology, which is still, I think, going to be relevant very soon, is we in fact created a sensor that you put on top of bottles of milk, bottles of juice, bottles of water, whatever it is, in the cap. And we said, what will happen is when a container containing these fluids are starting to get empty, the fridge itself will be able to reorder it from an online place like Amazon or whatever and have that shipped to your doorstep. So that second part of having it shipped and so on, we got it right. But the sensor technology at that time was a bit primitive, that we had a lot of false positives as to like how much, because the viscosity of liquids in these bottles were empty at different levels and so on. So it's a little bit challenging technology. But today, I think the technology has improved. We could probably resurface that idea. But the issue is, what I was trying to say is, the fact is that you don't need to figure out that you ran out of milk to go to the store and buy it. The fridge itself will tell you, hey, you know what, Epi, you ran out of milk. Do you want me to reorder? And you'll say, yeah, go ahead. And then it'll just reorder it like that, because the fridge has its own wallet. It knows where to contact Amazon or whichever store you ever deal with. Just be able to charge it and boom, get it done. So that life is going to be a lot more simpler in those senses, because the things around you are not just inanimate objects. They're almost like animate in some way. They have a brain, they're able to think, they're able to tell you things, and so that they can ease your burden in a lot of ways. And so I think you're going to see every kind of smart equipment, like even your treadmill for working out or something. It might sense your pulse and your blood rate and say, you know what, cool down a bit. I think you're straining yourself too much, or whatever. And it'll be able to work with you almost, instead of you just running on a dumb machine. You'll be working with something which is intelligent. I think that sort of thing I see from a personal standpoint that's going to happen in businesses. Obviously, workforces are going to be both hybrid, both human and bots working hand in hand. And humans are going to really elevate themselves to higher value add work, as opposed to doing menial things, and menial things being run by bots.
Yeah. What's that one thing that people still underestimate about the future?
I think people are underestimating how fast things will happen, but in some ways they're underestimating how fast things will happen. In some ways they're overestimating how fast things will happen. I'll give you both. So like some of these agents are like robots that you can purchase for your home to fold your clothes and wash your dishes and those types of things. I think those types of agents are going to come faster than people think. So they're underestimating how fast that's going to happen and how fast the prices are going to fall. You're going to get flooded with these from places like China very, very quickly. Now, the overestimation people are making is for AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. And that's because I think while LLMs are very smart and have encyclopedic knowledge, when I look at human beings actually make decisions not just based on knowledge. They make it based on a lot of factors. One is, let's say that if you have a small child which does not know that this cup of whatever coffee is hot, when they put their hand, they find it hot, and then they immediately, by reflex, move their hand away because it's hot. So we are making a decision based on external input, not based on it's a cup of coffee, but because it's hot. So similarly, when you are doing a brain for a self-driving car, you have to make decisions to avoid accidents or whatnot. And sometimes you are making decisions not based on knowledge, but based on reflex and immediate decision making based on distance, perception, weather, and a lot of other factors that you have to make it at a split second. I don't know if, or even a moral dilemma might be that you are going to go into an accident. You have to avoid it. Now, where do you go and what do you go and hit to avoid property damage or human casualties? So a lot of airplane pilots I've seen in aircraft incidents where they've had to unfortunately crash land or whatever, they tend to look at this moral dilemma because they have to crash. People in the plane might die, but they don't want to kill additional people on the ground, so they'll go to some remote place or whatever to make this happen so that the damage to others is less. So same thing here, AI has to make these decisions. Other types of decisions are like, unfortunately, humans are prejudiced. So we make sometimes decisions based on looks, based on religion, based on language. A lot of things we filter. Then we say, okay, I'm hiring this person or not, based on all these other factors, which are not really fair. It's not fair at all. But machines make it based on just a general set of criteria, as opposed to these types of other sort of prejudices that humans have, biases that humans have. So these are things that I think, that's why I feel AGI is not as easy as people think, because there's a lot of shades of gray, so to speak, between where we are and where machines are.
Yeah. Now, Raghu, this is a short format conversation. I'd love to carry on this for another conversation with more deep in what you're doing. This is very innovative and exciting. I always ask this as a last question to my guests, and that is about the word bold. What does that mean to you personally?
So I think I always encourage my staff to be very bold in terms of taking chances. And entrepreneurs are risk takers by nature. So if you're not bold, cannot technically be an answer. The opposite of bold is being coward. And if you're a coward, then you cannot really enter the field of entrepreneurship because it takes you have to take risks, you have to take chances, and there are a lot of adages that says that the people who are bold, no risk, no reward, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think there is something, I forget the phrase, but something favors the brave. So when you're brave, luck favors the brave, or something like that.
Success favors the bold and the brave.
Yeah, so you need that quality in order to be in business, and especially in startups and whatnot. So you have to make some decisive moves. And so bold means all of that to me. In technology, you have to always keep changing. So you cannot be stuck in your ways and not, embrace new ways of doing things. So that requires some degree of getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things. So that's also being bold or brave. And so I always encourage my team to bring up the ideas and not stifle them, and give them a platform to share those ideas so that we as a whole, as a company, go forward. That's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. Very well said, Raghu. So great seeing you. Thank you for your time. Hopefully, we get to connect soon. Until that time, take care, be great, and be bold always. Bye bye, my
Thank you
friend.
so much.
Thank you.